If you apply these tips I'm about to tell you into your makeup in 2025, it will be a game changer. First, always let your skincare dry down before going in with foundation. This is because if you apply your foundation on your face without letting your skincare dry up or absorb into your skin, to give you patches. And that's also part of the reason why your foundation breaks or your makeup breaks at the end of the day, because the products are not sitting into your skin properly. So you want to make sure your skincare, your skin prep is always dried down and blended into your skin before applying foundation. The next tip is for foundation application. It's always better to blend your foundation in steps, like step by step. So instead of applying your foundation all over your face and putting dot of foundation, sometimes some foundations dry down when you do that. To avoid that, always like take your foundation application in steps and in layers. What I do most times is I start from one area, then blend it out before you go on to the other side of the face. So this just helps your process of application and makes it seamless. The third tip is always apply lesser foundation to your forehead, and this is because I do not believe that your forehead requires a lot of foundation, because majority of your forehead is basically going to be bronzer anyway. So why not just apply lesser foundation to your forehead, and then you can let the concealer and the bronzer do the rest of the talking. The I think fourth tip is just based off of foundation is you don't have to apply too much foundation. You can do 1 or 2 layers if you want like full coverage. That's about it. Another tip is it also helps your work look much more flawless. Next tip, I'm sure most of you already know, is when applying concealer, just focus mainly on the inner and the outer corner, especially if you're going to be layering on different shades of concealer. So you don't need to apply so much at first, because you're still going to apply more and more and more concealer onto this. So you basically just need to apply on the inner and the outer corner, then blend it together and you're good. Then the next tip, I'm sure if you've been watching my tutorials you know this, if you want to blend your concealer or any skin product out, you always take the products that you want to blend out. Like in this case, I want to blend out my concealer. I'll always take the concealer and just apply some here on my hand or on anything you can. Then I'll just tap on my beauty sponge to the product before I blend it out. This is because if I was going to apply the empty or a clear beauty blender to blend it out, most of the time it takes away, especially with blenders, it takes away the product rather than blend it in. So with this tip, instead of it taking away the product, it actually blends it in because you already have the same product on the sponge. Next tip is when blending out your concealer, you always want to start from the edges, just like this, and then here. Always want to blend out the edges first before you go in to blend the rest of the concealer. This kind of controls your blending and keeps everything in place and kind of blends it in where you want it to. So it's advisable you always blend out from the edges before you go in to blend your concealer. The next tip is a bit controversial, but I'll say skip that 1 dot of concealer and 1 dot of foundation and 1 dot of everything if you want a full gown. Because to be honest, I'm going to tell you guys, there's no way you can achieve a full beat, like your face beat up and the likes, with using 1 dot of foundation and 1 dot of concealer and whatever you want to use. Sorry, you gotta use the products. Use your products if you want a full glam. Don't manage it. Next would be to avoid flashback, or if you want to achieve a bright under eye, always layer your concealer from the darkest to the lightest. Just like I did, I applied a darker foundation underneath this before I applied a lighter foundation, just to avoid that flashback and to make it more seamless and make it blend into my skin. If I went ahead and applied the bright concealer first without applying a base, it would just stand out and it wouldn't look nice and professional. It wouldn't look blended into my skin. So always, if you want a bright under eye, always apply a darker concealer, a concealer that is like 1 or 2 shades lighter than your skin first before you then go lighter. With the base, you can go as light as you want, it would not matter. Next tip is, if you want a more professional and refined finish to your makeup, you have to incorporate the rules of layering to your makeup. Layering meaning what you normally do with your eyeshadow if you want to transition, like applying a light eyeshadow first and then going darker into darker browns or deeper colors. That's basically what you do with your skin prep. So I just applied a dark contour, and then I went ahead and applied a lighter one to blend out the darker one. This will kind of give your makeup more depth and to give you that gradient look. And you can do it in different steps in makeup and not just only contouring. Just did it with concealer now, applying a darker concealer first and then going in with a lighter one to give it more depth and make it look more seamless. I did it with concealer, I do it with eyeshadow. We've always done it with eyeshadow like it's normal. I feel like doing it with your skin work is not that popular. So start incorporating it into your skin work and it will make a huge difference. The next tip is if you want like an illusion of a slimmer nose, always bring your concealer closer to your nose, like very close to your nose, to the bridge of your nose, and to give it that very contoured slim nose. And you also want to do that while you're baking too. So in the same manner that you brought the concealer close, also bake very close to the bridge of your nose. The next is applying creams. So applying your creams before powder as when applying your makeup will always give your makeup more depth and it will always make your makeup more pronounced. So if you want a much more pronounced and defined or glam look, always apply your creams before applying powders, like your cream blush, like your cream bronzer, and the like. And the next tip is always blend out all harsh lines before you go in with any form of powder. I think that one should be a staple. You guys should already know that. So see, there's a mark here. I'm just going to use the contour part of our sponge and just tap on it lightly. You don't need to do too much and it's gone. Tap on it lightly and it's gone. Ready? Harsh lines. It's harsh line. We're using the foundation part. We're just going to tap lightly on it, lightly, just to diffuse that a bit so it does not look too pronounced. These are part of the things that make your makeup appear seamless. The next one is before you apply anything to your under eye, always make sure you go in and blend out your under eye again. Remove any harsh line in sight before you go ahead and apply powder. Always dust off your excess and then immediately apply. Don't waste any time. And this is because whatever you set is what you get, so you want to make sure everything is well blended out before you go ahead and apply any powder. If you're confused on where to set and bake, just have this in mind. Always set the areas that just need mattifying, that is mattifying with your powders. Those are the only areas you need to set. Areas that you just need to mattify with powder, which is usually your T-zone and your under eye. You can set all over your face depending on your preference, but only set areas you need to mattify with powder. And for baking, only bake areas you want brightened up. So for baking, most of the time I don't bake my T-zone. I only bake my under eye and my nose because I like my nose to be pronounced. So if you don't like your nose pronounced, there's no need to bake. I like to bake my nose eye. I like to bake my under eye because I like those areas to stand out. But before I bake, you have to go in to set first. So it sets the base for the baking. Another tip is you want to go in the same manner you applied your creams to apply your powders. So I'm going to go in the same manner I layered my contour. That is, I'll apply the darker shade first, then I'll go in with a lighter shade. Usually I apply it with a fan brush. So this will just define that cheekbone and you don't need to do too much. I'll use a rounded brush and then apply the lighter shade just to blend out that darker shade I just did into my skin, and it just gives you this gradient look that I like and just adds more depth to your makeup. Next tip is for a more seamless look, especially if you've applied your bronzer, always start from the lower part of your face because this is where most of the foundation is, and the upper part has your concealers and bronzers on it, so it does not need as much powder. So I majorly focus the powder to the lower part of the face and into the neck, then I get the remnants and then go over the bronzer just so I don't cover up that bronzer. For the forehead, I apply from the middle and then go into the bronzed parts just so it doesn't get covered, and then I cover this front. Next tip is it's always easier to apply your shimmers with your fingers, especially if you don't have nails like me. It's not compulsory, but like I just like the finishing when I apply with the fingers, especially if I don't have nails. So sometimes when I have nails like this, I actually use a brush, but I prefer to use my fingers. That's just what I'm saying. Next is always make sure you tightline your top and your bottom waterline. It always makes a difference. Another big tip is if you want like a lifted lash look, just apply one dot of your lash glue to the end of your eye. Let it dry down a bit and get tacky. Then you push it up with your hands. You lift it up at the ends with your hands. And there you have it. Your eye is lifted to give you that lifted eye look. For your under eye, always press in your under eye powder rather than just off. Then never underestimate the power of finishing touches after your setting spray. This brings your makeup back to life. Finishing touches meaning applying your brightening powder after setting spray to just brighten up these areas and keep it mattified and more pronounced. Applying mascara to your bottom lashes. And you want to do this after setting spray, not before, unless it will run down your face. Applying highlighter. The final tip is always take your time when learning. It takes a lot of practice to get this. So be very patient with yourself while learning. Thank you so much guys for watching this video. If you found these tips helpful, don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe. And I'll see you in my next one. Bye.